What up, folks? It's your boy Ed Cat coming at you with another video. And today we're going to be talking about news trading. How can you take advantage of those big money moves that happen in the market? News trading can be a really high risk endeavor, but if you can get it right, the profits are going to be amazing. But there are certain principles that you have to have in order to make sure that you're managing risk and trading news correctly. So today I'm going to be breaking down how to do it, what it's all about, so that you can be as profitable as possible. So first, let's talk about what news in trading actually is. So what tends to happen throughout the month are certain economic data releases come out. Those data releases carry important information about what is happening within the country's economy. It looks at things like the country's growth over the last month. It looks at the labor statistics and what the employment situation is like. And all of these have an impact on what the sentiment of the market is. And these are where those big moves happen. The reason those big moves are big moves comes down to the expectation of where those economic data releases are going to be versus the reality. Let's look at NFP, for example. Now, NFP, or non-farm payroll, is how many jobs were created this past month for the economy. If the expectation is that 200,000 jobs were created, but the reality is that 300 jobs were created, that difference between the expectation versus reality is going to cause a massive move in the market. And in this case, a massive bullish move for the US dollar if this was the US's NFP. And that is what causes these massive moves. What the expectation of the data release being versus the reality of what that data release was. If you want more information about economic data releases like NFP and CPI, go ahead and look at the little card up above. So now that we know what these data releases are, we know what news trading is, and we know what causes these massive moves in the market. Now let's talk about how to go about trading it. There are multiple different ways that you can trade the news. The pre-news trade, the post-news trade, and the straddle strategy. We're not going to go into the latter two. We're going to be focusing on the pre-news trade, which I find is the most reliable. However, it does come with the most amount of risk. The pre-news trade is about trying to predict what the economic data is going to come out as and riding the wave that causes. Now, it can be a bit of a gamble because we don't actually know what the reality of the economic data is going to be, but doing a little bit of research and journaling out what previous economic data looked like leading up to that event can give you a slight edge in your prediction of what it's going to look like. Now, how this works is you're going to place your trade before the economic data releases. Typically, I like to do this about 7 minutes before the data comes out. And what you're going to do is, if you're predicting bullish price action as a result of this economic data, you're going to enter the buys about 7 minutes before the trade starts. Now, here's where the risk comes in. If you're wrong and it ends up being bearish, most likely you're going to hurt that account quite badly. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to open a separate account for your news trading. This account should only have the amount of risk you are willing to take. So if you want to risk 500 Rand on this trade, open up an account, place 500 Rand in it, and effectively you are risking the whole account. Stop losses and news trading do not go together. If you're trying to trade a funded account or a prop firm account with news, you're going to be in for a bad time because news does not respect stop losses. These economic events happen so fast that your stop loss is going to be decimated. Do not try and trade news with a stop loss or with a high risk account like a prop firm. It is not going to work out for you. Open what I like to call a degen account or a degenerate account, because news trading is a little bit like degenerate behavior. But you're going to open up an account, 500 Rand, and think of the entire account as your stop loss. If you predicted wrong, you're going to blow the account, but you only blew 500 Rand and no more than that. So even though you don't have a stop loss, you are going to want a take profit. These news trades do not go in that direction forever. They have an expected amount that they can typically go. So go and do a little bit of research, go back to previous events and see what is the expected momentum that each event carries, average it out, and then pick a take profit that is realistic for this type of news event. So if it's a CPI, for example, go look at all the previous CPIs, get an average range, and use that as your take profit. Typically, I like to go for a 4:1. So for a 4R trade, and I take my take profit at 4R. Once I've multiplied my cash by 4 times, that is it. I'm taking my money and I'm running. Sometimes these economic data can go further than that, but you don't want to risk that harsh pullback or that harsh reversal, which often can come with these news events, especially if the market priced them in correctly beforehand. And last but not least, after the news event, whether you're right or wrong, you need to journal the results of this trend, because this information is going to be very useful on how to trade the next economic event. You need to keep a journal of what all of the economic data came out as, what are the trends, and try and correlate them with each other. So what did CPI come out last month relative to NFP, relative to PPI? And as these come out, whether you're right or wrong in your prediction, journal that and use that to inform your next prediction for the next news event. So that is the short of how you trade news. If you want a longer video going into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty, if you want me to explain the post-news trade or the straddle strategy that Raja Banks is very famous for, then go ahead and pop it in the comment section down below. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next video coming out, and we will see you in the next one.